So welcome to this series of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with the first session of the first Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita today. We'll first start with the first shloka. Before that, we start with the gratitude to the Lord, without whose grace this is not possible. Also, respect to our Guru Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge has been passed on since generations. Our Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn these scriptures and able to share this understanding with you. We will start with prayer first. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The first question is, why do we need to learn Gita Ji? It is said that Gita Ji gives us and grants us what we all yearn for all the time. We all want success in our life. Of course, the definition of success is different for everyone. We all want a struggle-free life. But when we strive for success, some kind of struggle is bound to be there in our life. And whenever there are some failures in our life, we are unable to accept. We all want success all our life, which is generally not possible. So along with this kind of success, we also want ever happiness. We want to be ever happy all the time. We want to be peaceful all the time. We want to be without fear, without all our limitations of our anger, our jealousy, all this, all the time. And all this is not possible without understanding the crux of Gita Ji. So Gita Ji is a complete guide for our life. It will help us to guide through all the situations of our life so that we can remain ever happy, successful and peaceful. And that's why we urge that Gita Ji should be read, learned, understood, imbibed, assimilated in our life during our active professional working life, because that is the time that we need to use this knowledge, this understanding to make our lives much better and make our lives much more peaceful and happier. It also helps us overcome a lot of our attachments, our moha, which blurs our vision, doesn't allow us to see the reality. So whatever is a reality, we feel that it's an illusion, and whatever is an illusion, some kind of negative thoughts in our mind, they look like a reality. So this is because of our moha or attachment. And Arjuna also got moha in the first Adhyaya, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And that is why Lord had to give him this entire teaching, understanding, and had to carry on with the Gita Ji. So Gita Ji can help us to overcome all these limitations and attain complete freedom and liberation for us. There is some uniqueness of Gita Ji as well. The first and the foremost is its simplicity. Out of all the scriptures, Upanishads, the Brahma Sutra and lot of other scriptures that are available with us, Gita Ji probably is one of the relatively easier ones for mortals like us to understand, because otherwise many of the scriptures have very deep meaning and sometimes it's very difficult to understand. Even Gita Ji, for that matter, you need a learned guru to understand the real meaning or the deep meaning of Gita Ji. But still comparatively it is much more easier. It's not that it is because it is simple, the meaning is not deep. It has very deep meaning, and that's why we call them pearls. Pearls means every time we dive deep into this ocean of this knowledge of Gita Ji, we find some new pearls, we find some new meaning every time we read these, we understand these. So it is like pearls of wisdom all the time. Not only that, Gitaji is very sweet, it's very beautiful, the message is so profound, it is never boring. N number of times you read it, you recite it every day again, because it's a very friendly dialogue between two friends and it comes from the heart of the Lord, and it is like sharing a message from the heart to another friend, because Krishna and Arjuna were friends for many years, almost 90 years before Gitaji or the Mahabharata Yuddha started. They were friends. Only during the Yuddha and in the first Adhyaya, the second Adhyaya, the seventh shloka is when Arjuna accepts the Shishyatva, disciplehood of Sri Krishna, and then the sermon starts. Bhagavad Gita is classified or divided into 18 Adhyayas or 18 chapters. It is said that this is also further subdivided into 3 main parts. The first 6 Adhyayas or chapters are predominantly to Karma Pradhan, means that it predominantly talks about what kind of actions, karma we should do. Of course, it's not that it only talks about karma, because there is a lot of Gnan and a lot of other talks about its incarnation, Avatar Swarup of Bhagwan in the 4th Adhyaya. But predominantly the message is more based on what is the kind of action we should do as part of our sadhana or a spiritual journey, so that the actions don't bind us. What is that Nishkam Karma Yoga he talks about in the 2nd and the 3rd Adhyaya. And so this is a huge understanding for us, because most of us, we are all the time involved in some of the other activities, karma, actions, and that's why we should learn to do it well. How we can do it so that it does not attach us, does not bind us to the karma, and we can do it very well. The next 6 Adhyayas are more devoted towards bhakti or devotional, and the last 6 Adhyayas are more predominance of the Jnana, the knowledge, the ultimate knowledge. So that is how, but these are not strict classifications, but this is how predominantly it is arranged. The first Adhyaya is called the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which is very important, because it gives the background of the entire Gitaji, the foundation on which the Gitaji rests is the background of the battle and the message of Bhagavad Gita, and that's why first Adhyaya should not be neglected. Many of us feel that first Adhyaya does not contain any message of the Lord, does not contain any important knowledge, Jnana, Karma, Bhakti, Jiva, Ishvara, any of these subjects, and that's why it is not important. But it is very important because it gives us the psychology of both the sides of each person. And Mahabharata is said, it is an epic, it is an Itihas Grantha, it is an epic of historical epic, which gives lots of different characters who have different personalities. Shakuni, Yudhishthira, Duryodhana, Karna, Pandavas, Arjuna, Bhima, Lord Shri Krishna. A lot of people have very different psychology, and that's why we can understand people much better by understanding Mahabharata and of course the first Adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita. So this can help me to understand my own mind, how it works. Because the kind of vrittis that develop, we'll come to those kind of vrittis, how they develop, what are the good and the bad, emotions or values. We'll come to that. And it will also help me guide where I need to improve. Small things are so very important in life. How do we speak? What is the kind of our intention behind what we speak? And how we can judge people by the way we talk or somebody else talks to us. It is very important, because that gives us our hidden meaning, what comes behind the words. And Arjuna develops attachment, but not Duryodhana, because both of them were in the same situation. On one side Kauravas, on the one side Pandavas. Both were fighting each other, but both are cousins. Duryodhana is also fighting his cousins, and Pandavas are also fighting his cousins. But only Arjuna developed this moha, attachment. And then he becomes a candidate for this kind of a message from the Lord. So what is that? Because Arjuna has faith in dharma. His sanskaras, his impressions, his dharma pradhana, he's thinking about dharma. But sometimes what happens is our mind is such that it does not want to follow dharma. Mind wants to do something else, gets attached somewhere else, and dharma pulls us on the other side. And that's why there is a tug of war, a struggle between dharma and the mind. Dharma says this is the right thing to do. Mind says no, I want to do this. And that's why that struggle comes. So that's why this is a very beautiful part, and that's why a person who is still in a struggle, who is still undecided, is the main person who is a candidate for this kind of Atma Jnana. But the person who is already enlightened, who is already knowledgeable, who knows, who does not get attached, for that person, this Jnana is not there. Neither for the person who is already always in Bhoga, Sansara, and he is not interested to learn something new or think about anything different than what he is seeing, and he doesn't think that there is anything else beyond this Bhoga, sensual pleasures in the world. For that person also Gitaji does not give much message. But for a person a seeker like us, who want to learn something new, want to learn what is the reality behind this world, what is the truth behind this existence, the foundation of everything, for all these questions we have to deep down into the Bhagavad Gita, which will give us all these knowledge and understanding. So Arjuna's struggle, his attachment, is the root cause of bondage, and that's why it is said that Gitaji is a scripture. It is a for releasing us from this bondage. So this is a kind of, the first Adhyaya is a kind of a story. It's also called Adhyayika. Before any scripture starts, there is always a short story which comes, and that's the first Adhyaya is something like that. So for example, even Kathopanishad, there is a story of Nachiketa and Yamaraja before the Katha and the main teaching starts. So that gives a kind of a prologue, the background of the subject matter of what is going to be talked about, what is going to help, because in the first Adhyaya you see that there is Arjuna, Vishada, Moha, all these, and that's why Bhagavad Gita, the main prayojana or the main benefit or the main purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to relieve us from all our miseries, Shoka, Moha, Dukkha, Sansara, all this. This kind of story also keeps the enthusiasm for the learners, listeners. They also ignite some kind of curiosity, eagerness, interest to learn further. And it also tells us who is the deserving candidate, whether Arjuna is the deserving person or Duryodhana. But it is Arjuna who is the deserving, because his base is dharma. For a person whose base is not dharma, like a Duryodhana, who does not think about what is dharma, what is adharma, then for him this kind of message is of not much value. So somebody who has this value of this knowledge, greatness, and has a praise for this kind of knowledge. And of course, this story also tells us the subject matter of the teaching, Vishada, Moha, for which the Vivrutti is done with Bhagavad Gita. So this Mahabharata battle, which is the battle of Dharma, it's also called Dharma Yuddha, battle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Both are of course from the Kuru dynasty, both are cousins, and they had differences. We are not going to do all the details of Mahabharata because it's a very long story, but to just make it short, Pandavas were not given any part of the kingdom, and that's why they tried to do a compromise. They tried everything. Actually, their right was to the half of the kingdom. But Dhritarashtra, Kaurava's father, who was the king, was not wanting to budge or take away any part of the kingdom from his son Duryodhana and all his 100 brothers. So Pandavas were not given anything. Pandavas finally tried to compromise and said just one small part of the kingdom, if they can have, they could maintain their kingship. But that was also not granted. Instead, they were granted to go into the exile, Agnatwas, and the Lakshagru. So they had to suffer a lot of injustice, and finally There was no other way but to wage a battle against the Kauravas. So that's why it is called a Dharma Yuddha, battle of Dharma. And it is also signifies that in life or in our day-to-day work, whenever we use intellect and we take side of our dharma, ultimately we become successful or victorious. So this is the significance. In our body, the person can accumulate dharma or punya by his deeds, by his karma, by his actions, and this can help improve not only this life but the next life that we are going to get. That's why these are some of the learning messages for us, where this human life which is given to us, it is one of the most precious life, and that's why it's the duty is on us to utilize each and every moment of this life to do something better and better, make some, accumulate some punya, dharma, and create a better life for us in the future and for our next life to come. The spiritual meaning of this Mahabharata battle is that there is an inner battle which goes on in our mind all the time between virtues, these are called the Daivi Sampatti, and the vices or the Asuri Sampatti. So they are always at war. We like something, but that's not the right thing to do. And that's why there is always a tug of war. And that is the deep spiritual meaning of Mahabharata. We all go on with this kind of struggle. And our duty is always to aim to increase this Daivi Sampatti, our virtues, by seeing these virtues outside in the world, learning from people, and being aware about our negative emotions, our negative vices, our Asuri Vritti, like Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, all this we can try and remove, annihilate, reduce as much as possible. Shithilikaran unka bilkul kam jitna ho sakta hai. We should try to reduce this, and finally we should try and destroy this Asuri Vritti. So what is this Daivi Sampatti and what is this Asuri Vritti? Asuri Vritti basically makes us Swachhanda. In English we call this a person is independent. But independence is different for different people. Swachhanda, for Swachhand, the independence is that he can do whatever he wants to do. There is no control of his mind. His Indriya, Sanyam, Mana is not under his control. He or she is slave of his mind. Whatever mind, there is a thought that I want to do this, they want to do it at any cost. And they give a lot of importance to desires, anger and greed. There's a lot of comparison. They want it, greed is there. They do what they like, they don't do what they don't like. And they are likely to disturb their own self, hurt themselves or damage the nature. And the entire mind works that you need immediate gratification, happiness or pleasure instantly. We are not prepared to wait for this kind of a happiness. But finally, over a period of time, this gives much more miseries in life, because there is no control of the mind. Mind is, we are like a slave. The body is like a slave of the mind. On the other hand, Daivi Sampatti is a person who is Swatantra, not Swachhanda, but Swatantra. In English, we call them independent. Both are independent, but there is a huge difference between these two independence. One is Swachhanda, the other is Swatantra. With Swatantra, the independence comes with the Indriya and the Mana Sanyama. So there is a balance, kind of a regulation. There is a control over his mind, and that's why they have better Daivi Sampatti like kindness, compassionate, they are helping, their acceptance, their morality, ethicality, honesty, simplicity. So all these are Daivi Sampatti. They will not disturb themselves, others, or even nature. They will, and in early part of their life, probably they may face more difficulties by their, their acceptance, their, motivation to do good. But later on, they will become much more, peaceful. Happiness is always there with this peace of mind. So this is the main difference between these two persons who are considered independent, but both are differently independent. One is Swachhanda, where there is no control over the mind, and the other is Swatantra, who is a person with a Daivi Sampatti, who has complete control over the mind. And that's why they are Sahaj, very means that naturally they are independent. They don't have very strict likes, dislikes, raga, dvesha. All those things are not there. So with this, let's start the first adhyaya. The first adhyaya, to summarize, the first 11 shlokas tells us about the two armies who all are fighting this war, and the next 7 or 8 shlokas talks about both the armies blow their conches, signifying that the war has already started, right? So this is what is the subject matter of our first session today. We're going to discuss these first 20 shlokas, and finally in the 20th shloka, Arjuna tells to Krishna that I want to see these two armies, and the 21st shloka tells Shri Krishna, who is the charioteer, to take his chariot in the center of the battlefield. And finally, after seeing not just his enemies, but he sees all his relatives in his enemies, that mamatva, my mamata, attachment, moha, comes in, and he develops a lot of sorrow. He does not want to fight, and then he despairs. He has a lot of stress reaction, he has anxiety, depression, he wants to run away. And finally, in the last shloka, he comes to the back of the chariot, and then he just sits down, puts down his bow and arrow, his gandiv, and then he sits on the back side of the chariot. That's the end of the 47th shloka of the first adhyaya. So this is a nutshell about the first adhyaya. Let us start with the Dhyan shloka of Bhagavad Gita. This is the shloka which is a prayer, and it is generally done before the Bhagavad Gita learning. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puranamulina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamrutavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayini Ambatvāmanusandadhāmi Bhagavad Gīte Bhavatveshini. So let us understand the meaning of this Dhyana shloka. Om. Om is a single letter word which signifies Paramatma, the Supreme, the Divinity. Parthaya Pratibodhitam. Partha is the name of the Arjuna. Pa is Paramatma. Arthaya, one who works, whose whole life, his meaning is to take him to Paramatma. And these are the teachings. Pratibodhitam means the teachings for Partha or Arjuna. Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam. By none else than God, Sri Narayana, Prabhu Bhagavan Sri Narayan Swayam speaks these teachings to Arjuna. Vyasena Purana Muninam. This is created by Veda Vyasa, who has also created Purana. He's created many granthas or scriptures. Mahabharatam Madhye Grathitam, which is included within the Mahabharata. Within the Mahabharata there are many parvas, but Bhagavad Gita is in the Bhishma Parva, and the adhyayas 24 to 41, in which Bhagavad Gita is situated in the Mahabharata. Advaitam Amruta Varshinim, which means that it gives the message of oneness, Advaita message. Amruta Varshinim means like it's the message of the teaching is like as sweet as a nectar. Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayini, like it's like Bhagavati consisting of 18 adhyayas or chapters. Amba, it's like a mother to us. Tvam Anusandadham Bhagavata Gite. I'm starting to try and learn, understand Sri Bhagavad Gita. So that is the Dhyan shloka. We start with this. So let us start with the first shlok. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Vamakah Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. So the first shloka of Sri Bhagavad Gita starts with Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra's question to Sanjaya. As you know, Dhritarashtra was blind, and when he was asked that he can be given divine chakshu, that is the divine eyes, to see the Mahabharata, he refused. He says, no, I don't want to see, out of fear, because inside probably he knew that they were on the Adharma side and they would lose the battle. So he asked Sanjaya, his charioteer, to get these divine eyes so that Sanjaya would see whatever is happening on the battlefield of Mahabharata and then relay it to Dhritarashtra. So it starts with Dhritarashtra asking Sanjaya regarding what is the battle description. I want to know what is happening there. It says Dhritarashtra Uvacha. So Dhritarashtra, the word itself means one who holds on to the state. Dhritarashtra. He has a lot of moha, attachment. He is a pratik, or he signifies a lot of moha for his children. That is why this battle of Mahabharata was created. Sanjaya, O Sanjaya, he says, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Now, this is called Dharma Kshetra because here there is a battle of Dharma, Yuddha was fought here. Also, a lot of yogis have done pirans in Kurukshetra, in that area, and that's why it's called Dharma Kshetra. Kurukshetra is the name of the battlefield. It is also like a pilgrimage because Gitaji message was given in this battlefield, and that's why Kurukshetra is considered to be a very holy place. Samaveta Yuyut Savaha means that they are all of them have gathered for the purpose of war, to fight this battle. Mamaka cha Pandava eva kim akurvata means what did my and Pandu's son do? Now this Mamaka word is very important. That signifies the moha and the attachment of Dhritarashtra, Mamaka. Otherwise he shouldn't have said Mamaka if he doesn't have that attachment. He would have said Pandava and Kaurava, what are they doing? But he says Mamaka cha Pandava. So my and Pandu's son. So these are my sons and these are Pandu's sons. That is a kind of attachment that shows his moha, bheda, buddhi of Dhritarashtra, which was the root cause of this battle of Mahabharata. Second shlok, Sanjaya Uvacha, Drashtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravi. So Sanjaya says that Duryodhan goes to Dronacharya and speaks. That is how it starts the description of the battlefield, what is happening. Sanjaya Uvacha means Sanjaya speaks. Sanjaya is a person who is very calm, he is very controlled, he is quite balanced person. And that's why he doesn't disrespect anyone, the way he is describing everything that is happening on the battlefield. So all the next shlokas, Sanjaya is going to speak to Dhritarashtra what is happening. Tada Duryodhanaha Rashtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham. Then the king Duryodhana, after seeing the Pandava army in formation in the Vyudha, there was a Chakravyu. The Pandava army was in a Chakravyu. So after that they saw this formation. Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachana Abravit means that Duryodhana goes to Dronacharya. He goes close to Dronacharya and speaks these words. Now why is he called Raja, king? Duryodhana was not the king actually. Dhritarashtra was the king. But probably Duryodhana was behaving like a king. And he used to get everything, whatever he wanted to do through Dhritarashtra. And that's why he was considered as a king by Sanjaya. But actually, ideally, Dhritarashtra was the king and Duryodhana was not the king. Probably Sanjaya must have thought that, by telling Duryodhana king, I will make Dhritarashtra also happy because he was a sevak. He was a servant of Dhritarashtra and that's why he always wanted to make his Swami happy. Pashyetam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudham Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. So this third shloka, Sanjaya is saying that Duryodhana tells Drona to see the Pandava army. So Acharya Pashya Etam Mahatim Chamum Panduputranam Vyudham. Oh Acharya, you see this large army of the Pandavas arranged in formation. Actually, the Kaurava army was much bigger than the Pandava army in the Mahabharata battle. The Kaurava army had 11 Akshauheni, whereas the Pandava armies were 7 Akshauheni. But this itself, saying that, see this large army, saying that, their army is bigger than mine, it itself is Asuri Vritti. Most of the people who have, this kind of Vritti, they will always show that the other person has much more and I don't have enough. They will always say this. So this signifies the Asuri Vritti. Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. So this army of the Pandavas is led by Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna was Drupada's son. He was the commander of the Pandava army and is your intelligent disciple. He wanted to tell Drona and remind him that it is led by Drishtadyumna, who is disciple, and he was born actually from Drupada to kill Dronacharya. So basically Drupada and Drona were childhood friends. They used to go to Bharadwaj Muni's ashram to learn when they were a child. When they grew up, Drupada became the king and Dronacharya was an acharya. He was a Brahmin and he was in a very difficult situation. So once he went to his friend King Drupada, but Drupada insulted him and threw him out of the court, and that insult was always there in Drona. So when Drona went to Krupacharya, and then he was made the acharya of the Kuru Vansha by Bhishma Pitama, and then he taught archery to all the Pandavas and the Kauravas, and then finally when it came to time to give the Kuru Dakshina, he told everyone that, get me Drupada, but Bandi Banakar, make him slave and bring him to me. So Drupada was brought. Arjuna said, I will do this for you. Arjuna went and he got Drupada, and then he asked half of his kingdom and released Drupada. So Drupada was always wanted some revenge from Dronacharya, and that's why he did a Tapascharya Yagna, and he wanted to produce a son who would kill Drona, and that's how Drishtadyumna was produced to kill Drona, and along with it, Draupadi also was born from that same Yagna, and that's why one of the names of Draupadi is Yagnasaini. So that is a story which goes, and that's why this is what he wanted to remind Drona that Drupada's son is their commander-in-chief. So just to ignite Drona that his main enemy's son is the commander, and Drishtadyumna was born to kill Drona. So there was this animosity between Drupada and Drona, and that's why Duryodhana wants to press that right button to inspire or ignite Drona so that he kind of fights valiantly or fiercely. Next shloka. Atra shura maheshvasa bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudhano viratascha drupadascha maharatha. So these three shlokas, the 4th, 5 and 6, Duryodhana is showing the main warriors of the Pandava army to Drona, and this is being relayed by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. So that is the context here. Atra Shura Maheshwasa. In this Pandava army, there are many great warriors who have great bows. Dhanush. They have great Dhanush, Maheshwasa. Bhima, Arjuna, Samayudhi. They are all great warriors like Bhima and Arjuna. Duryodhana already had a lot of fear in his mind of Bhima and Arjuna because both of them were very powerful warriors. Yuyudhana Viratascha, like Satyaki. Yuyudhan is Satyaki and King Virata. Drupada cha Maharatha. King Drupada, your enemy, and many other great warriors are there in the army of Pandavas. Next shloka. Drushtaketuschekitanaha Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kunti Bojascha Shaipyascha Narapungavaha. Drushtaketu and Chekitan. Drushtaketu is the son of Shishupal, and Chekitan, who was of the Yadav dynasty, was finally killed by Duryodhana in the Mahabharata war, are part of their Pandava army. Kashiraj, the king of Kashi, the great warrior. Purujit and Kunti Boj, both were the brother of Kunti and aunt of the Pandavas, were part of the Pandava army. And Shaibya, King Shaibya, who was the father-in-law of Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira's wife Devika's father, and Narapungava. So all these were part of the Pandava army. Yudha Manyuscha Vikranta Tamaujascha Viryavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharathaha. Yudhamanyu, the king of Panchal Desha, Uttamoja and Viryavan, both had the duty of protecting the wheels of Arjuna's chariot. They were also part of the Pandava army. And Saubhadra. Saubhadra means Subhadra's son Abhimanyu, and 5 sons of Draupadi, who were killed finally by Ashwatthama who were not killed in the Mahabharata Yuddha, but after the Yuddha was, or the battle was over, they were by misadventure, a chal, a kapata, killed by Ashwathama at the night time when he had come. Satyaki was actually guarding Krupacharya, they were guarding the tent, and they went in and killed all the 5 sons of Draupadi. Sarva eva Maharatha, all the great warriors. So Maharatha means a great warrior. In Mahabharata, it is defined that a great warrior like a Maharatha is someone who can fight against 10,000 men. So that person is considered as a Maharatha. So there were so many such Maharathas in the Pandava army. So now Duryodhana tells Dronacharya that I want to show you some of the warriors of our own army also. Asmakam tu vishishtaye tanibodad vijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sangyartham tan bravimite. So he says, who is Vijottama? Vijottama means who is a great Brahmin, or Uttama Brahmin means one of the best Brahmins. And he wants to remind Dronacharya that though he is a Brahmin, but here he has to fight because he is in the battlefield and he has to be a warrior, he has to be a Kshatriya. That is what he wants to tell Dronacharya. Asmakam tu vishishtaye tan nibodha. In our own army, all those who are great warriors, you know them. Tan nibodha. I want you to know them. Nayaka mama sainyasya sangnyartham tan bravimite. All the leaders of my army, mama sainyasya, Nayaka. For your information, sangnyartham, I am telling you, tan bravimite. So this is how Drona already knows about this, about his own army, who all are there. But Duryodhana does not know. And Duryodhana talks from his fear of Bhima, Arjuna, Adharma, and he falters. He also gives a lot of disrespect. He doesn't know how to talk to his teacher. Dronacharya is his guru. This is not the way to talk to a guru. That you see these people, I want you to know, I want you to see them. This is for your information, I am telling you. All these are not the words to be spoken to a guru. So this is not the way to talk to a guru. This shows his aviveka, his disrespect. All these are the asuri vritti of Duryodhana, how his mind is working. And also he has a lot of pride also, an ego, a fear. All these are asuri vritti. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Rupascha Samitinjayaha Ashwathama Vikarnascha Saumadastatistatthaivacha. So Duryodhana gives names of the leaders in his own army, Kaurava army. He says Bhavan. Bhavan means you first. He is telling Duryodhana, and Bhishma and Karna and Krupacharya. So all this it says. And he says Ashwathama, Vikarna, Somadatti. Ashwathama is Drona's son. Vikarna is a brother of Duryodhana, but he is quite knowledgeable. He is a Dharmajnata. He is quite a knowledgeable person. Actually, while in the in the court of the Kauravas, when Draupadi's Chir Haran was happening, she asked whether I belong. Before that started, she asked whether can I be given in a dice, in a game of dice, can I be given like an object? Am I an object? What does the Dharma say? The Vikarna was a person who got up and said no, she cannot be given up on a game of dice because she is not an object, she is a person. So that is the knowledge that Vikarna, brother of Duryodhana, had. And Somadatta's son, Bhurishrava, who was actually very good, very expert in elephant warfare. So they were all the part of the Kaurava army. But here, he just in one shloka, he talks about the Kaurava army. For the Pandava army, he used 3 shlokas. He gave lots of names of all the leaders. This also shows his asuri vritti, that we have very low kind of army. Our army is very small, but the army of the Pandavas are much bigger and shows much bigger army. Anye cha bahava shura Madarthe tyakta jivitaha Nana shastra praharanaha Sarve yuddha visharataha. So he says, apart from them, there are many great warriors in our army. He's talking, all of them have given up their life for me. Madarthe, for my own sake, tyakta jivitaha, they have given up their life. So all this also shows a lot of pride, ego, self-centeredness, selfishness of Duryodhana, and that also shows a lot about his personality. Nana Shastra Praharanaha. Nana Shastra means they all have different types of weapons. Because there are different types of weapons. One is a Shastra. Shastra is something that is used in our hand to fight, like a sword, a dagger, or something like that. Astra. Astra is something that is hurled from far away, which like a bow and arrow, like a bhala or a spear, it's called an astra. Whereas prahar is something that is held in the hand and then you do a big prahara. So that is a prahara. Something like a mace or a gada is a prahara. So they all, our people in our army have different types of weapon. Astra, Shastra, Prahara. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam paryaptam vidade metesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. So in this shloka he compares the two armies. Of course in his heart and mind there is fear, and he says that his army is superior to that of Pandavas, and that's the pride that he has. This comes out of fear. Most of the times when we are not so confident inside, we try to show confidence outside, and that is what happens for the people who have Asuri Vritti. Aparyaptam tat asmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam means our unlimited army. Aparyaptam, unlimited army is guarded by Bhishma. Bhishma bhirakshitam, it is guarded by Bhishma. And he says to them, Paryaptam, their limited army, Etesham balam bhima bhirakshitam, is guarded by Bhima. Now Bhima is neither the commander nor the main warrior. Arjuna is the main warrior and the commander is Drushtadumna of the Pandava army, but out of fear of Bhima, always he had fear of Bhima, that's why he is giving the name of Bhima. Of course Bhishma was the main warrior of the Kaurava army. So this is how Duryodhana puts it. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagam avastitaha Bhishma meva virakshantu bhavantah sarva evahi. Duryodhana tells his army to protect Bhishma. Bhishma is a great warrior, and that's why Kauravas and Duryodhana wants that Bhishma should be protected from all the sides. It says, Ayan eshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagam avastitaha. In formation of groups, wherever you are, all the army, he is telling his army people, his warriors, that wherever you are in different groups and formations, all of you must protect Bhishma Pitama from all the sides, because Bhishma was such a great warrior that he could, he probably, if he wanted, he could complete this Mahabharata battle in one day, and that was his might. So that was, but he had taken a pledge that he will kill not more than 10,000 people in a day, and that's what he used to do every day. So that's why Bhishma was to be protected from all the sides. Bhishma was the backbone of the army, and Bhishma had Ichha Mrityu. He could die whenever he would desire. And Bhishma himself had told Pandavas, when they had approached him before the war began, that how could they, get Bhishma to die. That is what they asked Bhishma before the war began. And Bhishma says, if Shikhandi comes in front of me, then I'll not take up any weapon. Shikhandi was son of King Drupada. Eldest son actually was elder to Drushtadumna, and he was born as a lady, as a girl, but he was raised up like a boy, because here when Drupada was doing some kind of penance to get a son, Lord Shivji, when he became very happy, he said, okay, you can ask for anything. He asked for a boon, I want a child. So Shivji said, I'll give you a beautiful daughter. But then he says, no, I want a male child. Then he says, okay, then this will be born as a female, but you can raise it up as a male and will have all the great virtues and characteristics of the male child. So that was Shikhandi, who was a great warrior. He was brought up like a male child. He was taught all the Shastra Vidya. But Bhishma knew that he is a born female, and that's why he decided that he would not fight with Shikhandi. If Shikhandi comes in front, he would not take up his weapon. So that is the only way to kill Bhishma. That's what he only had suggested to the Pandavas. And that's why Duryodhana tells all his army men that you protect Bhishma from all sides and make sure that Shikhandi does not come. Make sure that Bhishma does not die. that he should remain with us all the time. Tasya Sanjaya Nayana Harsham Guru Vratha Pitamaha Sihanadam Vinatyuchaihi Shankham Dadhvam Pratapavan. So from this, probably Bhishma Pitama was observing what is happening between Duryodhana and Drona from a far off distance, and probably he must have guessed that there is some exchange of words Duryodhana is keeping on speaking, and suddenly, just to make Duryodhana happy, the eldest Kuru, the fierce Bhishma, is to please Sanjaya and Harsham Duryodhana, he says Sinhanadam Vinadya Yuchaihi Shankam Dadmo. He roars like a lion, Sinhanadam, and blows his conch loudly, Uchaihi Vinadya. And this was one of the ways to signify that the war has started. That is one. And the two is to blow a loud conch and to roar like, to make some noise also is a war strategy to pressurize the opponents, or to intimidate or pressurize, or to break their morale of the opponents. So this is kind of a war strategy. Tataha Shankhascha Bhairyascha Panavana Kamo Gomukhaha Sahasaivabhyahanyanta Sashabdastu Bhavat. So after this, there was a loud noise which started after the Bhishma blew his conch, and this is also a war strategy to depress the opposition. A lot of people started blowing their own conches. This was also followed by Bhairya, Panava, Anaka, Gomukha, all the drums like Nagara, Dhol, Mridang, Ranashinga. Gomukha means Ranashinga, which is in the shape of a Gomukha. So all these different types of drums were started. So this created a very, very large noise. Sahasa eva abhyanhanti means they all started beating together very loudly. And Sashabda, Tumulaha. Tumulaha means very loud, a deafening kind of a noise was created in the battlefield. And this was the idea was to pressurize the opponents. But here the opponents are the Pandavas, and Pandavas are not the opponents who are going to get pressurized or going to get depressed. So what happens is Tataha Shvetair Hai Yukte Mahati Syandane Stitau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Yukyo Shankhau Pradakmatu. So Pandavas also start blowing their conches with a lot of force, giving them a retaliation. Tataha Shvetaihi Hayaihi Yukte, the two people who are seated in a great chariot which is adorned by the white horses, and these two are none other than Madhava and Pandava, Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna. They both start blowing their conches, the divine conches, Divyau Shankho. So basically, the white horses were gifted to Arjuna by Chitraratha. They were divine horses. The chariot was also gifted to Arjuna by King Indra. It was also divine chariot. And the conches of Krishna and Arjuna were also divine. And Shri Krishna was the first to blow the conch on the side of the Pandavas, because not because he was the commander-in-chief, but he had pledged not to take up any weapon to fight this war. But the entire Pandava army was surrendered to Lord Krishna. They accepted his greatness and were surrendered to Lord Krishna. That's why Krishna was the leader in that sense. And then everyone else started blowing their own conches. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devatattam Dhananjayaha Paundram Dadmau Mahashankham Bhimakarma Vrupodaraha. So Rishikesha is the name of Lord Krishna. He is the Lord of the senses. Rishikesha means Lord of the senses. He blew his Panchajanya conch. Panchajanya conch is the name of the, from the conch, this conch, the Shankha was brought from Panchajanya Asura. Once, what happened was that Lord Krishna, he asked, Devaki and Vasudeva were very upset. And Lord Krishna asked them what happened. So they said that we were worried about all the 6 other brothers that were born before you, who probably could not live in this world, they had to die. So then with his divine vision, Lord Krishna sees that they are made captive in a with an asura called Panchajanya. So Lord Krishna goes there and fights this asura and frees all these six babies and out of the bondage, and gets this conch, Panchajanya conch, which he has. So that is this conch of Lord Rishikesha. And Devadattam Dhananjaya, Arjuna blows Devadatta conch. So Devadatta conch also is gifted to him by Lord Indra, and Dhananjaya is the name of Arjuna, because after the yagna, Rajsuya yagna, Arjuna went southwards and captured many kingdoms and came back with a lot of wealth, and since then he was known as Dhananjaya. Bhima Karma Vrukodaraha. Bhima Karma means he is one who does great jobs. He killed a lot of asuras, Hidimba, Bhasmasura, a lot of other people he killed. He creates such big, does great work. And Vrukodara means one who eats and one who can digest a lot. So Vruka is the Agni. It is a Jatharagni or something that burns our food. So Bhima, there is another name of Bhima called Vrukodara. Dadbhau Mahashankham Poundram. So blows his giant conch named Poundra. So Bhima, Poundra was also one king, and who used to dress himself like Sri Narayana. He would have 4 arms, he would make some artificial limbs, and then he would say, I am the Lord Narayana. And that's how he became enemy to Lord Krishna. And then Krishna gave him many warnings, but he did not listen. And finally Krishna had to fight this Poundra king, and after this fight he was annihilated, and his conch, which was called Poundram, was won by Shri Krishna, and then it was gifted over to Bhima. So Bhima's conch was named Poundra conch. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Shugosha Mani Pushpikau. So Kunti Putra Raja Yudhishthira Ananta Vijayam. Kunti Putra King Yudhishthira blew his Ananta Vijaya conch. Now here even Yudhishthira is called the king, though he is currently not the king, but maybe because when the Rajsuya Yagna was won, Yudhishthira was accepted as the king, and so that is probably why Sanjaya says that Yudhishthira is the king, or Yudhishthira because of his virtues, the kind of values system, the gunas that Yudhishthira has are all sattvic. He is Dharmaraja, he is the man who is basically knows what is dharma, what is adharma. He would be very stable all the time, that his word itself, Yudhishthira, is always firmly rooted. He is not a person who gets easily swayed away. So his conch is called the Ananta Vijaya conch. He blows his conch. And Nakula and Sahadeva also blow their own conches. Nakula's conch is Shugosha conch, and Sahadeva's is Mani Pushpikau. So everybody blows their own conches. Kashyascha Parameshwasaha Shikhandi-cha Maharataha Drushtadyumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajitaha. Kashyap, king of Kashi, Shikhandi, the great warrior, Drushtadyumna and king Virata, and Satyaki, who never lost, Aparajita. Satyaki was a disciple of Arjuna. He was a Yadav Kul who had come from Dwarika, but he did not go to the Kaurava army. The entire 2 Akshavahini Sena of Lord Krishna went to the Kaurava army, because when Duryodhana and Arjuna went to meet Shri Krishna before the war began, when Shri Krishna opened his eyes, he saw Arjuna first, but Duryodhana had come first, but he was sitting on the head side, and Arjuna was sitting near the feet of Lord Krishna. So he asked Arjuna, you can ask first. Duryodhana says, no, I have come first, so I'll ask first. I'll ask for a boon. And so he says, Lord Krishna says that, okay, what I'll do is, on one side, I will be there, on the other side, my army will be there. On one side, I will not take up any weapon, and on the other side, all my army, 2 Akshavahini Sena, will work with their weapons. So you ask. And Duryodhana, when he had to ask for, he asked for Lord's army, whereas Arjuna was very happy. He says, Lord Krishna, we want you. If you are there, we don't need your army, we don't need anybody else. So that was the kind of the surrender that Arjuna had. And with this, the entire army of the Dwarika Sena of Lord Krishna went to the Kaurava side, but Satyaki, who never lost a battle, he went, and Krishna's son Pradyumna also he freed from Bakasura, and so he had lost many battles. He had won many battles. So he was a Yadav from the Yadav Vansh, and he was a disciple of Arjuna. So he was on the side of the Pandavas' army. Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvashah Prithivipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahuhu Shankha Pruthak Pruthaka. So, King, he says Prithivipate. This is to Dhritarashtra. He is calling Prithivipate because Sanjaya is speaking to Dhritarashtra and telling all this what is happening. To Drupada and 5 sons of Draupadi, Saubhadra, so that is Subhadra's great warrior son Abhimanyu, and they all started blowing their own conches. Sago Shodhatra Rashtraanam Radayani Vadaraya Nabhascha Prithivim Chaiva Tumulo Vyanudanayan. So with this there was everybody started blowing their conches. This created a very fierce sound, and that pierced the heart. Radayani Vadaraya, pierced the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra, the Kauravas. So such a big sound was created by all the Pandavas. They started blowing their own conches, and this created a very big noise. Eva Tumula. Tumula is also thunderous sound was created with Vyanudanayan Prithvim cha Nabaha, means it only spread not only in this world but even pervaded the entire sky. So this is a loud or a thunderous sound was created. Next shloka. Atha vyavasthitan drashtva dhatra rashtran kapitvajaha pravrutte shastra sampate dhanuruddhamya pandavaha. So Athaha, now Arjuna, he prepares for the war. Athaha basically means thereafter, now onwards, and it signifies a change of topic. Here it also shows that now things are changing. So far only the description of the armies was done, and then everybody is blowing their conches, means the war has started. Here Arjuna says, Arjuna's another name is called Kapidvaja. Kapidvaja means that on his chariot's flag sits Sri Hanuman, and it is known that Hanuman is Chiranjeevi and is a great devotee of the Lord. Whenever Lord comes on this earth as an incarnate, Hanuman is always there. With Ram he was there, with Krishna also he is there, and he is already sitting on the flag and watching the entire Mahabharata war, and he also is listening to this entire Uddesha of Bhagavad Gita. So Hanuman is Chiranjeevi. There are many stories of Sri Hanumana in the Lord in the Mahabharata battlefield, that after the Bhagavad Gita message was over, he climbed down, and then Krishna said, "Oh Hanuman, how come you are here?" And Hanuman says, "I was listening to this message sitting there on the flag." And then Krishna says, "How is it possible that you are sitting higher on that flag?" And that's why he was given a task to go to another yoni and to write about the Bhagavad Gita description. So he has given a bhashya on Sri Bhagavad Gita, Hanumanji also. So there are many such episodes of Hanumanji here. Vyavasthitan drashtva dhatra rashtan. I want to properly visualize the sons of Dhritarashtra. That's what Arjuna says. Arjuna says, I want to see properly all these Kauravas. And that's why he says, who have now become ready for going to war. The war is about to begin. But before the war, let me have a proper look at my enemies. That's what he says. And this is also signifies that this person, he is having some, he is using his intellect. Our Guruji says that whenever you do any action, before the action, one must give enough time to think about the consequences of the action. One should not just, jump into that action or that karma. And this is a virtue of a karma yogi. And here Arjuna says, okay, I want to visualize who are this Dhritarashtra, Kaurava, and Dhanuhu. Udyamya Pandava. Arjuna lifts his bow and arrow, his Gandiv on his shoulder, and then he says, he tells Krishna in the next shloka, the last shloka for the session today. Arjuna uvacha Rishikesham tada vakyam idamaha mahipate senayorubayor madhye ratham sthapayamechyuta. So Arjuna tells Krishna to take his chariot to the center of the battlefield in this shloka. Mahipate, Sanjay is addressing the king Dhritarashtra. Actually, the Arjuna Vacha starts from the second line of the shloka, not from the first line of the shloka. In the first line, Sanjay addresses King Dhritarashtra, Rishikesha Vidam Vakya. He says these words to Rishikesha, Arjuna Uvacha. So the next is Arjuna Uvacha, and then he says, Hey Achyuta, Me Ratham Ubhayo Senayo Madhye Sthapaya. Oh Achyuta. Achyuta is the name of Krishna. Achyuta itself means that somebody who doesn't get swayed away at all, is firmly established. Chuta, Kabhi, he never gets chuta. Achyuta. So chuta means one gets, from the duty, one gets swayed away or gets, does not do what one needs to do. Whereas Lord Krishna, who is Rishikesha, who is the Lord of all the senses, through his energy, all the senses work. Does not get swayed by any senses, obviously, and that's why his name is Achyuta. So he says, take my chariot to the center of both the armies and be steady there. Sthapaya. Sthapaya means establish my Ratha or my chariot in the center of the battlefield. And this looks like an order. Of course, nobody can order the Lord Krishna, but we must understand that here, in this situation, Lord Krishna is the charioteer of Arjuna. So Arjuna is the Rathi and Krishna is the Sarathi. And according to the Dharma principles, the Rathi has the right to give an order to the Sarathi to do whatever the Rathi wants. And that's how Arjuna tells this. And he says, take my chariot to the center. I want to see all my opponents. And after that, what happens? Let us see in the next session. It is very interesting. It is complete turnaround. It's a twist in the tail, in this tale. And so far we saw the description of both the armies, the Pradhan, Yodha, the great warriors on both the sides, and then how both the armies blew their conches, a lot of noise was created to war strategy to depress the other army. Finally, Arjuna observes the Pandava army. And what happens next, we will see in the next session. With this, we come to the end of the first session. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.